Visit with Rebecca and Shaw Thompson, as well as Robin Thompson with the Florence Little Theater's Carousel, coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Florence Little Theater. We're focused on Carousel, which kicked off last Friday and runs through this Sunday here at the theater. And we're visiting with Shaw and Rebecca Thompson, both cast members here in the theater's production of Carousel. Good morning, y'all. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning.
Glad to be here.
Incredible opportunity to highlight Carousel, to highlight Florence Little Theater. So many activities that go on behind the scenes that the audience members just don't know about. They're looking for an incredible performance. They always see it. And thanks to folks like y'all and your family, surely your brother's coming in a little bit. The experience has been wonderful.
Good for us, too. We're glad to have folks enjoy it.
I'm sure. Can we talk real quick about yourselves? Are you originally from the area?
Yes, we both are originally from Florence.
Born and raised.
Is that right? How exciting. And to be active with the Florence Little Theater, to know that's so much a part of you.
It's definitely a part, at least half the life, apparently.
When we think about that, how long have you all been married?
We've been married 6 years this past January.
Is that right?
Yes.
You notice I let her answer that question. So.
I get that.
Keeps me from getting in trouble.
How about, now, Sean, you've been, obviously you said you're a Florentine.
Right.
You work here in Florence as well?
Family business is Shaw Lumber Company of Florence. I was named after the man that founded it. And my brother and my father work there as well. And then the other brother's the one that I do everything here with.
Yes, absolutely. Robin, we enjoy. And Rebecca, do you work with the family lumber company?
No, I don't. I work with a company called Drywood Molding Company out on 52. Mm-hmm. That's where I work. What
are your responsibilities there?
I basically help them to run the front office operations, accounts receivable, order processing, those types of things.
Mm. How did you all meet? Was it related to music at all?
Definitely. We actually went to high school together. I'm 2 years older than she is, and didn't get along at all in high school, at all. Didn't really like each other's company at all. Then we wound up going to Coker College together and ate lunch together every day, and over time just sort of fell into being good friends, and good friends into dating, and dating to engagement, and engagement to marriage, and here we are.
Wow. Where were you all engaged?
We got engaged during a production here at FLT.
Oh, come on.
We did. We were doing Showboat and played the two romantic leads, Gaylord Ravenel and Magnolia.
Right.
And got engaged during the run of that show.
The old Howard Keel and
Catherine Grace.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Sure, so many folks remember that.
Right.
Amazing performance. And she was so great in Kiss Me Kate and some other things.
Directed by Patsy Stone. So we've kind of got a little bit of a long history.
Yeah.
We're doing shows.
Yes.
Great time with Patsy. And Patsy was on Monday. I think she said she'd been on the board of the Florence Little Theater since 59.
Yes.
It was 45 years.
Yes.
She's devoted a good bit of her life.
Right. She probably defines the term steel magnolia.
Definitely.
And she's definitely one of the people that holds this place together.
How exciting. Shaw, you and your brother Robin are both talented musicians. Is this the result of some family influence?
It is. We like to say, well, our father says we got it from him because he doesn't have any, but I think the true case is we got it from our mother's side. Our mother was a church musician for most of her life, nearly 40 years, and she died a few years ago, and one of the last things she did before she became ill was played for church on Sunday morning. And we both sort of followed in her footsteps. Robin's still a full-time, church musician. And I sort of moonlight with him on the weekends. I did it for 5 years before I came back to Florence to work in the family business. But the theater and helping him out lets me get my musical side of my personality more than active, let's put it like that.
Right, and this is truly a family affair aside from the newly recognized here, 6 years of marriage, and the excitement just grows. Beck, have you been singing for a long time?
I have. I've been singing since childhood. My parents started me in our church choir here at Central Methodist Church here in town. And I studied private voice in high school and, of course, went on to college to get my vocal degree. And so I've been singing really most of my life.
Did you ever study an instrument?
I did. I studied piano some through elementary school into junior high school. I studied for about 5 years, and then I made the decision to study voice after that.
Shaw, can you share with the viewers how you became interested in Florence Little Theater the first time?
Well, Robin, of course, has a lot to do with my past of what I've done, what I've been involved with, but he was involved here, I think it's 20-something years ago, he can tell you for sure, of the production of Carousel. It was his first show in like 1980 or 81, I don't remember exactly, and he played the same part I'm playing in this show then, Mr. Snow. And I think I was a freshman in high school, and they were doing a production here called Mame, and my voice had finally changed, and I was starting to sing a little bit, and was in high school chorus, and Robin said, would you like to go to the theater and audition for something? And at that age, you're not scared of anything much, so I said sure, and came out and did a little part in the chorus, and the next year I did the lead role in Snoopy in high school, and from there it just kind of steamrolled into, I think I counted up 36 or 38 different shows between here and the upstate in the last few years.
Kidding,
about 20 here, so 30 years old, and tell where I've spent most of my time. So,
and the great thing was just getting that first small introduction, just that little tug in. Come on in, Shaw, and experience, and to think of 36 or more performances under the belt, that's amazing.
Yeah, we like to call it when the theater bug bites, you have to scratch, and most of us have never gotten over the itch.
Rebecca, how about your first introduction to the Florence Little Theater?
My first introduction was an FLT Singers production, and forgive me, I don't remember the year. My first staged production, if you will, in an actual musical was Showboat, which was the production in which we became engaged, as we mentioned.
She started as a lead, unlike the rest of us. She just came right into the big part.
I didn't ease in easily, if you will. I started in Showboat, and that was my first musical that I performed here. So.
How spectacular. You all were immediately opposite each other.
Right. We were romantic leads in that show. That's correct.
And do you think folks in the audience could experience what was actually going on behind the scenes? To think of the engagement kick. I mean, surely that had built over a long time. But did you all share that with the audience ever? Was there a buzz going around?
We put it in the biographies in the program for the show, and it's certainly, both of us have played opposite other people since then and before, and it's certainly easier when you're playing opposite somebody that you don't have to make up exactly what you're feeling for. And the only problem was I busted my lip 2 days before the show opened, so every kiss hurt.
Oh wow, the audience may have seen that.
Right, let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Now, do you perform, do you sing at all, Shaw?
Oh yeah, a lot. My degrees were actually in vocal performance, and in church every Sunday. I was really fortunate in high school and in college to actually sing in New York a couple of times at Carnegie Hall under Robert Shaw, and a few other places hither and yon. So.
Now, Rebecca, would you mind sharing a little inside track? Do you hear this guy singing in the shower?
Well, occasionally. Honestly, we don't sing that much at home unless we're in the middle of a production.
Because we sing so much outside of the home.
But yes, sometimes we do. Sometimes we'll catch each other in the bathroom.
Can you share with the viewers a little bit about this production, Carousel? We've got about 3 minutes. Just to give a feel of what's going on here. If someone's never been to the Florence Little Theater, if they're driving in from Lumberton, let's say, if they were going to come down and see the performance, what are they going to get when they get here?
They'll get a lot of beautiful music. A couple of the numbers they will recognize. You'll Never Walk Alone, June is Busting Out All Over, are two easily recognizable tunes.
If I Loved You.
True, If I Loved You also. They'll get some comedy, they'll get some tragedy, and they'll get a well-rounded production. We've got a strong cast really from top to bottom, which sometimes you don't always have the good fortune of having. It's a family production. I would feel comfortable bringing children or young people. It is lengthy, but it doesn't feel lengthy. You really have a good time.
Right.
I think the time will pass quickly.
Yes, definitely.
I think it should also be said that most community theaters, especially ones I was familiar with when I lived in the upstate, do not have this nice a facility either.
Really?
But you don't get to see the quality and the lighting and the sets. We're very fortunate here to have the staff we have, and they put on a good show each time, but the musicals always look a little extra special.
Yes, very definitely. Shaw, did y'all both audition for the roles which you're currently cast in, or were you just moved into that?
Well, I came out specifically for Mr. Snow. Again, like I said, Robin played it so many years ago, and I'm a tenor, and Mr. Snow's a tenor, and he's supposed to sound very operatic and overblown, and that comes easily to me. So it was always my training, and 10 years ago when I went to Brevard Music Center, they said, this is a part you need to play at some point. And luckily enough, I can check that one off the list now, at least after this Sunday.
Yes, absolutely. Rebecca, what about, for you, the experience of being on stage together? What do you derive from that experience being up here with
Well,
Shaw?
it's really a lot of fun. We get to spend that time together, even though sometimes we're not necessarily near each other for the whole evening. We're together. I've always enjoyed performing with Shaw. We have sort of an unspoken vibe, if you will, for lack of a better phrase. We get to do what we love to do on our off time. We work during the day to support our theater habit, so to speak. So we really enjoy it, and it's something that we have in common, obviously, that we get to do together. So it's a nice thing.
Shaw, we got about a minute. Can you give the viewers a sense of some of your more memorable experiences with the Florence Little Theater?
Had several. I've worked with some really fine people. This year I got my first chance to direct a show. I actually directed one of the straight shows for them of Mice and Men. And that was a wonderful experience, and worked with Patsy on several occasions. I would definitely say one of the high points for me was a show called Big River that went over very well here. No one knew much about it, and we packed the house an awful lot. And if you've never experienced the idea of a standing ovation in the middle of a show, which we were able to get a couple of times in that one, it's a wonderful rush. That's what we do it for, the applause and the recognition and the acknowledgement of your community, friends, family, that you're doing a good job. And that's happened several times in several instances, but probably the two highlights would be those two.
That's wonderful.
Sure.
You heard Shaw say it, and he speaks for both himself and his wife. The community is the key word there, and building the community is what you see when you sit in the Florence Little Theater, performing for the community and bringing the community together. And it's a community here on the stage. Thanks so much for being with us this morning, y'all.
Thank you. Our pleasure.
Thanks for seeing us.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Robin Thompson coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Florence Little Theater. We're focused on Carousel, which kicked off last Friday and runs through this Sunday. And we're visiting with Robin Thompson, the music director for Carousel and the president-elect of the Florence Little Theater. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for being back with us. Obviously, you were with us at the end of last year, talking about the Christmas extravaganza, so much going on, as well as so many activities with you at Main Street United Methodist Church up in Dillon.
Yes,
to think of all the activities with both, and to think, how the heck does this man have time?
Stay busy.
The question is still out there. We want to wrap that up today, Robin. How do you have time? Real quick about yourself, though. Are you originally from the area?
I was born and raised in Florence, so I've been here all my life.
You still have family in the area?
I do. My father's here, my grandmother, my brothers. We're all here in Florence.
Is that right? How exciting to stay close to home. How long have you been active with the Florence Little Theater, Robin?
About 25 years.
Son of a gun. And your first interest in music?
Well, I started taking piano lessons when I was about 8 years old. My mother was a musician, and I always wanted to play, and started playing in church and in high school, and just kept going from there.
You said your mother was a musician, or any other family members musically inclined?
My brother, Shaw.
Right.
My father and my other brother, they kind of audience participants. They enjoy hearing us, but they don't actively have musical abilities.
Well, since Shaw was on a couple of minutes ago, he kind of gave the impression that you were the music of the family, but you attended. I mean, he's got a good music background as well.
Yes, he does.
That's fantastic. Where did you attend school, Robin?
I did a degree at Francis Marion University. It was Francis Marion College then, and I did my music degree at Coker College in Huntsville.
Mm-hmm. How about after school? What was your first position in the music field?
Actually, my first position in the music field, I had taught music, worked with the Florence Independent Music Teachers Association, but I was hired at Main Street United Methodist Church in Dillon as director of music and organist.
Is that right? First full-time position,
yes,
really?
Sir.
Golly, that's spectacular to have that kind of tenure at the same location.
12 years.
Son of a gun. How about, let's talk about the responsibilities as director of music for Main Street.
Provide the music for all the worship services. We always have, of course, Sunday morning worship services and then several special things throughout the year. We just did a Passion Festival on Palm Sunday night and had a string quartet in the choir and handbells, and I do the handbell choirs, the youth ensemble. We have a children's music director that does children's musicals, and I help her a good bit, but she kind of takes charge of that. But I do the children's handbells, the youth ensemble, the adult choir, and music for all the worship services.
Mm-hmm. And you live in Florence?
Yes, sir.
And commute?
It's about 30 minutes.
Yeah, not too bad a drive. Obviously, we've got a lot of viewers in Dillon County, and surely that is throughout the market area. It's such a large market geographically. Oftentimes you get bogged down being on the road, but it surely hasn't stopped you.
No, even with the construction on 95, I've been able to make it back and forth.
That's
so
great. You said 25 years with the Florence Little Theater. Was that, 25 years ago, was that as a performer first, or on?
The first thing I ever did out here, we did a Christmas show, and we had two pianos, and I played one of the pianos. And that was back just about 25 years ago. And then Carousel was the first show that I was ever in. And that was, I think, 22 years ago. Patsy was directing it, and I played the part that Shaw's playing, Mr. Snow.
Is that right? How exciting. How exciting. And to think about that now. Have you and Shaw talked about that a good bit?
I really had hoped he would get that part. That was it was the first thing I had ever done out here, and it was a tailor-made part for Shaw. So when it was put in the season this year, we had talked a lot about it. I would really love to see him play that part that I did all those years ago.
How exciting. Ron, when did you first join the board?
This is my second term on the board. I served 2 4-year terms, probably around 1990.
Mm-hmm. And as serving now as president-elect, and to think about all the commitments that go into that, what are some of the responsibilities?
Well, it's our job to come up with the season, and the board of directors carries out the business side of the theater. We have wonderful staff here that do the day-to-day things that have to be done, but we try to keep a vision for the future, and we have a long history. I think next year it's 80 years, somewhere close to that the theater's been in existence, and I certainly hope we can keep it going for a long time. Our board handles all kind of committees, the finance, the budget, the play reading committee that selects the season, different committees that help in the production of the shows. It's quite a lot of work for a lot of volunteers, but we hope to keep it going for a long time. And
volunteers, the optimum word, Robin.
Yes, sir.
You really think about that. As you think about, and that ties in a little bit to the idea, you've got 4 performances under the belt, 5 more, including tonight's performance. Yes. What are some things that the audience doesn't think about when they're watching a performance and they're seeing everything going on stage? What are some of the things that are happening behind the scenes that would be good for the audience to take into account?
When the audience comes in, they see the finished product.
Right.
They see what you're seeing on stage now. There's a stage crew backstage working. It's their job to move one scene to the next to get everything off of there. There's lighting people that are handling when the lights come up, when the lights go down. There's fog and special effects in this show that you have to have people right there to do them when they need to be done. There are people back there helping with costumes, people that have done makeup and wigs, and the pit's full of musicians. Lots of things going on while a production takes place.
Wow, it's amazing just to sit there and think about it. And do you oftentimes have folks come up after a performance from the audience who are familiar with what's happening in the back to say, it went off superstar?
Yes, sir, we sure do. And it makes you feel real good.
That must be a great feeling. In the position as music director, what kind of activities do you all have preparing for a performance? Are you all pretty much on the same schedule of the actors and actresses?
Well, when the show begins, when we go into, we have auditions first and it's cast, and then rehearsals begin. And my job as music director is to teach them the music. And for the majority of the rehearsal time, they're used to just me playing the piano.
Mm-hmm.
And then the choreographer and I work together on the dance movements, and of course very closely with the director, staging the numbers. And I'm their one and only musician in the pit for quite a while. Then about 2 weeks before the show opens, we start bringing other instruments in. Mm-hmm. We've got like a 9-piece orchestra for this one. Mm-hmm. So these folks have been coming in. They're professional musicians, and they're doing a terrific job. And they come in for about those last 2 weeks. So it's kind of fun for me to all of a sudden have flutes and clarinets and percussion and all that. I've been having to do it all, so it's really nice to have them in. And that's when I really start having fun, because the show's up and running, they've learned their part, and then we can just create a little magic, hopefully.
And magic's the word. Robin, have you gotten any of the folks involved with Main Street? Some of the folks over there involved at all?
I've been very fortunate. I've got several people. David and Arlene Boyd live in Florence, but they're members of my church in Dillon. And Arlene's in this show, and David is too. And their little boy, who is my godson, is making his debut as one of the Snow Children.
Is that right? Yes. How exciting. How exciting. I know that's something we talked about a little bit with Arlene. And
I've also had another guy, that Jerry Berry, played Tevye when we did Fiddler on the Roof. And he's not in this show, but was a Dillon native, and he's gotten quite active over here at FLT.
How exciting. When you think about other community theaters in the area, are there some that jump out?
When you're asking me, I'm very active with Dillon County Theater, too.
Mm-hmm.
I've served as their president this past year. And we've produce a season over there as well. So I kind of juggled, bring Dillon County Theater along with Florence Little Theater this year.
How does Robin Thompson do it? This is nuts.
I love the theater, and I enjoy being involved in it. So I think I'm a person that does well when they have a lot to do. So I certainly keep my plate full.
That is fantastic, even on the 30-minute ride. When you think about Shaw and his wife now obviously being involved, what's that like for you?
Oh, it's wonderful. Shaw's my youngest brother. I'm 12 years older than he is, and he said he had 3 parents, and I'm one of them. And when he showed musical ability, nothing could have made me happier. And I've worked with them for a long time. They played, when we did Showboat out here, Patsy directed it, I did the music, and they played Magnolia and Ravenel. Got engaged during that show. And we were in Annie Get Your Gun together, and Shaw's always, even when he and Rebecca were living in Greenwood, right after they got married, he was director of music at the Methodist Church there. They came back and did a lot of things here at the theater. So when he came back home, it was wonderful.
You said he and Rebecca got engaged during Showboat.
Yes, sir. He sure did.
How exciting. And the experience for you to watch that blossom and to see that progress, did they ever share that with you?
Oh, yes, they surely did. I kept teasing Shaw that I always wanted a soprano in our family. So when he married Rebecca, we sure got that. She's wonderful.
That's amazing. Rob, when we think about next year with the Florence Little Theater, you've taken on the position as president, and you'll step into that role?
I think it begins in June.
In June. Okay. Let's talk for the viewers a little bit about next year and your tenure in that position. What's in store?
We're hoping to have a wonderful season. We are in the process right now of completing our season for next year, and we're just about there. We'll do our normal run of shows and hopefully some extra things thrown in along. I hope we can continue what we've been doing and maybe take it one step further and just produce the best live theater we can. Absolutely. When did you all begin planning for next season, Robin? In September. Is that right? Yes, that far in advance? Yes, you have to be. I guess in going out to get folks to help sponsor each event, yes, you've got to get to them well in advance. Is Carousel the last production for this season? It's the last production on our season that you buy season tickets for. That will conclude. Now, we have a special event here on May the 22nd. We have our awards night where we have a guild of artists in the theater. You earn points, and once you're in the guild, you vote on the best performer in each show. And at awards night, the shows that have been in this past season, the person that got the most votes is recognized and receives the Irving Award. And there'll be excerpts from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Code, our first show of the musical of the season, and from Carousel. And we'll announce next year's season at awards night, and we'll give a President's Award to the volunteer that's been the most helpful this year. It's kind of a night when we kind of say thanks to all the volunteers, all the actors, and just get a chance to get together and review our season and look forward to next year. And we're doing something a little different this year. In June, the theater's going to have a benefit here. We always try to have... You always need a little extra money for one thing or another, and our men's ensemble is going to do the Testament of Freedom. It's a patriotic program, about 20 men. We did this program in Dillon at the Dillon County Theater for Veterans Day. It was very well received, and we did a portion of it out at Arts Alive. We're going to do a full-scale, about an hour and a half production, and it's outstanding. It'll be the last weekend in June 27th, 28th, and 29th. So that will kind of be the last thing in this year, and then we'll have a children's production in July, and our season will kick off in September.
Bob, and lastly, has there been anyone in particular that's inspired you, has been your greatest inspiration in getting active with community group?
Oh, goodness gracious. I've had many people over the years that have been, I had teachers in high school that got me interested in the theater, and I'll have to say the director of this show, Patsy Stone, has certainly been a big force in my theater years. She and I have probably done more musicals together, and it's a real thrill to do this one again with Shaw playing my part and doing it 22 years later with the director. The girl that's playing Nettie in this show, Cheryl Brown, she played Nettie 22 years ago.
That's amazing.
And I found out a little tidbit that's kind of interesting. There have been 3 productions of Carousel done for the Florence Little Theater. The first one was, I think, in 1960, and it was at the old Air Base Theater before this one was built. And my dad's sister, my aunt, was in the chorus. And then I was in the production that was done in 1981. And then Shaw and Rebecca and I are all involved in this one, so we were kind of laughing that there's been a Thompson in all 3 productions of Carousel at Florence Little Theater, so that's kind of special to us.
That's amazing. You heard him say it, a Thompson in all 3 productions of Carousel, a man inspired by the director 22 years ago who's directing tonight's performance. Get out here, as well as through Sunday. Get out here, Florence Little Theater, Carousel.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us, Robin.
Enjoyed it. Thank
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Come out tonight at 8 p.m. for the Florence Little Theater's production of Carousel. For tickets, call 843-662-3731.